Welcome to the Buy Canadian Super Hour. We're super happy to have you here for our Super Hour Live. Uh, it is great to be here. I'm Dave, I'm your host, and we're all about Canadian shopping. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have an amazing time looking at Canadian products, purchasing them right on screen, highlighting amazing Canadian brands. The Buy Canadian group has created the first online all Canadian department store, a place where you can go shopping to confidently discover and buy Canadian goods. BuyCanadianGroup.ca is where it's at. Can everybody hear me okay? Or am I getting a robotic sound? Hello, check one, check one. Uh, well, I'll continue. If you're continuing to hear bad audio, let me know in the chat and I can adjust my mic or try to reset it. So yes, today's show is going to be fun. We're going to be doing a spotlight on the musical group Chilliwack. We are going to be bringing in a special guest, Ms. Jennifer Cummins from Pluck Tea, and we're going to be having tea together. We're going to be asking questions about her business, learning about her amazing brand, and also opening up the audience, opening it up to the audience to ask questions of Jennifer. Of course, we're also going to be playing the Canadian or Not game. That's a favorite here, where we bring up a person, place, thing, or invention, and um, the audience can vote on that. Okay, so let me see. It seems like my microphone might need fixing. I will try again. Check one. Hopefully that's better. Are you getting my audio now? Is this better? Check, check, check. Oh, yeah. Now we got it going. Okay, thanks for the tip. Clearly, the microphone was not the correct one. Now we are here and we are ready, and I can use my proper baritone voice to say, you're here on the Buy Canadian Super Hour. We are streaming out on Facebook and social networks. If you're watching there, come on down to buycanadian.tv, where you can actually shop on screen, interact with us. We're super happy to host you at buycanadian.tv. If at any time during the show you want to buy a Canadian product, right there in the chat room, you can see a list of all the products that we're featuring in the show. And every time someone buys a product during the show, we're going to play this magical sound. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. So we're hoping to get a lot of purchases so we can have that wonderful harp sound happening. So why don't we jump right in? And what we've been doing is kind of a warm up for the last couple of weeks is a spotlight on Canadian music. And this week we are going to be sponsoring Chilliwack. So what we've got is a few albums, vinyl albums, from the Canadian brand Vinyl Pursuit. Each one of these albums is I don't want to say one of a kind, but we only have one available to purchase during the show. So I'll try to bring up a few. I made a few available in the shopping tab in your chat room, so you can go ahead and purchase right here on the show. And we're going to do a little deep dive into Chilliwack. So Chilliwack is actually doing a Canadian tour right now. But why don't we start with a few notes about Chilliwack? But actually, before we do that, we do have a giveaway here, which I'm going to now activate. So I'm just going to leave this on throughout the show. And all you got to do is hit the little gift button, add your email, and then we're going to be doing draws so that someone will win a 20% off coupon for next week's show. So at any point during the show, fill in your email and we will go ahead and do those draws. Okay, so let's talk about Chilliwack. So we've got some interesting facts here for you. Chilliwack was formed in 1970 in Vancouver as the psychedelic group The Collectors. I didn't know that. The new name, I assume they're speaking about Chilliwack, which I believe is also a name of a Canadian town, is a Salish word meaning Valley of Many Streams. Their hit My Girl Gone 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 hit number 1 in Canada and number 22 on the US Billboard Hot 100 in 1981. And that really gave the band some international exposure. So that was the Gone 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 album. I'm seeing if we actually have that here for sale. I'll bring it up if we do. Maybe not. All right. Well, there's great other albums here. I'll bring up one of their featured classics. I think this is their first album. As well, their 1977 album, Dreams, 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 became Chilliwack's first Canadian platinum record in 1978. And I do think we have that one available. So if anyone wants to buy Dreams, 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 you can do that right now. And I'll play this sound. Oh, yeah. The Bill Henderson and Brian McLeod earned the 1983 Juno Award for Producer of the Year for their work on the platinum album Opus X, which I also think we have here. So that album hit platinum and is available right here in the show to purchase. Right here, look at that. It's a beauty. Chilliwack wrote and performed all the music for the Canadian Pavilion at Expo 70 in Osaka, Japan. So that was a great time for them to represent Canada. Across the 70s and 80s, they scored 6 Canadian top 10 hits, including Lonesome Mary, Crazy Talk, Fly at Night, and I Believe. The band's sound evolved from progressive folk, jazz, tinged rock to a more radio-friendly pop style in the mid-1970s, when Fly at Night reached number 75 in the US Billboard Hot 100. That was in 1977 and really expanded their audience south of the border. Through more than a dozen lineup changes, and I guess seeing as they're still touring now, like 50 years later, guitarist singer Bill Henderson has remained Chilliwack's constant member during the two active eras, which was 1970 to 88 and then 1997 to present. Who knows what he was up to between 88 and 97, but he clearly still has his magic, because Chilliwack's new tour that's going on as we speak, Farewell to Friends, is ongoing. So after 55 years on the road, 55 years, wow. Bill Henderson and company are taking what they're calling a final victory lap. I'm not convinced. I think they'll be playing in 2035. This cross-Canada Farewell to Friends trek, it opened with 2 sold-out nights in Calgary in March, and it's rolling through 14 stops coast to coast. They played in Vancouver's Vogue Theatre on October 19th. May 22nd, they were in Massey Hall, and they're coming to Ottawa's Bronson Centre on August 28th. There's also a summer festival set in Parksville on Vancouver Island on July the 12th. The run continues through November with Prairie and BC theatre dates and wraps at the end of 2025. So if you're into Chilliwack, come on and buy some albums. But I want to get into talking a little bit about tea. And before I bring Jennifer on here, I'm going to have a big sip of Pluck tea. I brewed it ahead of the show so that we could have tea together and it would still be hot. Oh, that's good. That's real good. Okay, let's bring in our special guest, Jennifer, and talk a little bit about tea. Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, Dave. How's it going over there?
It's going great. I'm glad that we sorted out that mic thing, and I'm super excited to talk to you and to have you here as a guest on the Buy Canadian Super Hour.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Before we go too much further, I'm going to bring up some Pluck tea that people can be buying right on screen. So what I'm going to say is every time someone buys a purchase from Pluck Tea and during the show, not only will we play this beautiful sound, but I will also drink a massive swig of this delicious, delightful tea. By the way, I'm having the Earl Grey cream, I think, which the Canadian content sampler bundle that you were kind enough to send me so we could enjoy it on the show here today.
Oh, look at that. That's great. And a great choice. That has Prince Edward County lavender in it.
It's so fragrant. Before we start getting into like sourcing ingredients and stuff, maybe tell the audience of the Super Hour a little bit about yourself, how you started this business. I know you've been around for a long time and have really established yourself as one of Canada's premier tea companies. So tell us about the origin story of the company.
Well, thank you so much. It all started, Dave, in 2012. Imagine this. A tea sommelier with a freshly minted tea sommelier accreditation, $5,000 in a credit card, who decides to go out on her own and start a tea company.
Wow.
It's a little more complicated than that. But essentially, I recognized that there was a gap on restaurant tea menus at that time in Toronto. We had phenomenal food, great wine, great desserts. All of these things are happening, but the tea programs in restaurants really left a little bit to be desired, or maybe more than a little bit. So I took it on as a personal mission to try to fix restaurant tea. And I haven't stopped since. Since then, we've grown into direct-to-consumer channel, an online channel, and you can find us at Whole Foods and Farm Boy and Healthy Planets across Canada. And yeah, it's
It's
growing every day.
such an amazing success story. Before we go too much further, I'm very curious about tea sommelier. Is that a profession? And tell me about what that.
No, it's a real thing. I have a piece of paper and everything. My parents are super proud. Yeah, it's about a 2 year. It's about a 2 year program, and it involves learning about cultivation, tea growing regions, traditions, flavor notes, kind of similar language to a sommelier who would be dealing in the wine world.
Yeah.
So we use a lot of common language, but essentially at the end of this 2 year period, you need to identify 12 cups of tea with no indication of what the leaf looks like and no idea where it came from. And you need to be able to not only identify the tea, but take a pretty good, accurate guess at where it came from and what altitude it was grown at. And if you can pass that test, then you get to be a certified tea sommelier.
That sounds like if you pass that test, you're going to deserve it. To even be able to judge the altitude by flavor. Here, let me take a try here.
To be clear, not your altitude, the tea.
Oh, okay. I know we're like near, I don't know where Toronto is. We're in like sea level or something.
Pretty much sea level, yeah.
But I would guess that this Earl Grey lavender cream was grown at 600 meters above sea level.
Well, no, that's probably about.
It was just a random guess. I have no skills.
No, you know what? I applaud the effort. That one's probably about 2,000 feet above sea level.
2,000.
Yeah. So the higher you go up on the mountain or the hillside, the slower the tea plant grows, the less access it has to oxygen and actually temperature. Some advantages are it grows slower, so you get more flavor. As opposed to teas that are grown at sea level. And it also is helpful in terms of pest control because the higher up you go, the fewer pests you have to deal with.
Interesting. Now, when I opened up the Canadian Content Sampler bundle this morning, and it's just a beautiful package. Like it's filled with different individual packages within. This is the one I opened, but I noticed some of the others that come in there, like the Canadian Maple. That's amazing.
Yes. I was going to call it Elbows Up blend, but I thought I might get in trouble.
I like it. The Control Alt Delete.
Mm-hmm.
What I was noticing, and then there's more too here. Hold on, we may as well show them all. There's also the Georgian Bayberry, which it sounds really appealing to me. And then finally here, the Renew. What I noticed is that all but the Earl Grey lavender cream seem to be caffeine free. Is there something in Canada that's not great at growing caffeine, or that is naturally decaffeinated, or is it just random that it's like that?
Well, I mean, the Canadians are a chill people, right?
Yes.
But honestly, to be clear, tea doesn't actually grow in Canada. So the tea plant itself is called Camellia sinensis. And that tea plant is grown, it is indigenous to parts of India. It's growing in Sri Lanka. It's growing in all parts of Africa and China, of course, the birthplace of tea 5,000 years ago. So that particular plant can actually be processed into any number of teas. So from white tea to green tea to oolong to black tea. And there's lots of little steps in between. There's probably about 10,000 different types of tea in the world just using that one plant.
Wow.
So over the years, especially with the wellness trend and flavor exploration, people are looking for non-caffeinated and more flavorful teas. What happened? Oh, did he sell it?
Someone bought something. Let's see who bought something.
Thank you. Who was it?
It's amazing. Douglas, thank you for buying the Canadian Content Sampler bundle. I'm telling you, I've got it right here, and it is delicious. At least the one I've tried so far, and I'm looking forward to trying them all.
Thank you so much. Well, actually, the lavender in that came from Prince Edward County, Ontario. You mentioned Control Alt Delete as our top selling flavor, or our top selling herbal blend. And
I'm curious about that name. Where did you come up with that Control Alt Delete name?
When I started the company, people kept asking me for a detox blend because there's this whole detox thing going on. And I guess today there is still a detox trend happening. But I sort of felt badly about it because I didn't really feel that it was truth in advertising necessarily. So I thought, well, what about a reset blend? And then when I thought reset, I thought about, my old computer days of PC land.
Right.
I'm on Mac now, to be fair. But Control Alt Delete, who hasn't used that a few times in their life? And it is a bit of a refresh. So that was the inspiration for that name.
I love it. I love it. And you're saying that's one of the best sellers too.
It is for sure our best-selling herbal tea. It has lemongrass and ginger in it. It's a great tummy settler, but it also, very critically, has cranberries from the East Coast, coming from a family-owned farm in Nova Scotia.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it seems like your brand is very Canadian forward, and I think always has been. Tell me about how important it is to include these Canadian ingredients, this Canadian content, because you are a purely Canadian company. Like, my understanding is not only was the company founded in Canada, but you actually do your tea mixing right here in Canada. And just tell us a little bit about the Canadianness of it, seeing as we're here at the Buy Canadian Super Hour.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So we're building Canada's tea company, and that's sort of a guiding principle that carries us through every day. We are constantly looking for new farms and new growers across the country to help us source some incredible Canadian products. And if you know anyone, by the way, drop me a line, because we're always looking for new ingredients to be sourcing across Canada. One of the things that makes us different as well, Dave, is that you're right. We do make our own products, and we make them right here in Toronto. We have a factory that employs 14 people, and we have 14 tea makers that show up every day, loving what they do. We have a great work environment and a lot of long-term employees. We've been in the same spot in Toronto now for, 9 years, and we're located in Leaside.
All right.
So
yeah, just like End.
Yeah, Don Valley Parkway in Eglinton area. East Enders rule.
Yeah.
So that's been great. It's been wonderful to grow the company. Actually, we just took over the second floor this year, thanks to the support of Canadians across the country. We've grown quite a bit. And we love to only use natural flavors in our teas when we do use flavors. We have lots of unflavored teas as well, but we only use natural, stay away from the artificial stuff. We hand blend every day, and we pack in small batches.
That's amazing. And what makes a good tea ingredient? Like, when you're like, hey, I want to source a Canadian tea ingredient, is it things that pack natural oils, or tell us a little bit about what sorts of ingredients can really add flavor, texture, and depth to a tea blend?
Oh, well, we have so much to choose from across Canada. We should be so proud. Here we are in Toronto, right in the fruit belt. We have all kinds of access to dried fruits. Dried fruits are wonderful in that they give a gentle, subtle sweetness along with their natural inherent flavor. Dried apples, for instance, and we're currently, watch this space, working on a dried apple from, do you know Martin's apple chips?
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of those
I
guys?
remember that from my childhood. Have they been around for ages?
Yeah. I guess I'm publicly letting the cat out of the bag right now, but we're excited to be launching
big announcement on the
big announcement, new one coming soon. Oh, was that because someone bought something, or you just got excited?
I just got excited about the announcement. But please do. And I'll just remind everybody, you can shop right against this content. Click right on the link on the player, or in the chat room along the side, there's all the list of some of the select Pluck Tea products, which you can purchase right here on the show. And we're going to give you a shout out and play that beautiful sound. Also, every time Jennifer makes a big announcement on the show, I'm playing that sound too.
Thanks, Dave. This is so fun. We should do this every day.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I didn't fully answer your question, though, I realized. So what happens, with flavors and the flavor of ingredients that are coming out of Canada, they're just so fresh and they're just so amazing. So what a lot of tea companies do is they source from the same kind of 3 or 4 big wholesalers, and they're blending with products that have been dried a long time ago and stored in a warehouse with nitrogen flushing and that sort of thing. We tend to avoid that as much as possible. We want to also create upcycling loops with what we do. So we work with local juice makers and chocolate makers. We work with Chaser's Juice right here in Etobicoke. I shouldn't say I'm here in Etobicoke. They're very close though. Etobicoke is in the GTA. So
It is.
shout
On
out
the
to
west
Etobicoke.
side. Shout out to the west side.
West side, we see you. We love your juice. Anyway, so they actually reserve citrus peel from the end of their production cycle and they dry it for us. So the citrus peel that you'll find in Pluck Tea is actually dried in Toronto. Obviously, citrus doesn't grow here, but we can certainly capture as much of that beautiful product as we can and keep it out of other streams.
That's great. I mean, it really seems to me that you guys go above and beyond to be environmentally responsible, to be supportive of your nationality. All that good stuff happens, and I know that not all tea companies do that. So that's, I think, a real differentiator for you.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it's really hard to do. There wasn't really a company before us that was sourcing ingredients across Canada in the way that we do. And it's just really easy to go to the usual suspects to buy, dried ingredients from larger warehouses. And that just wasn't exciting for me. It wasn't going to get me up in the morning. So we do like to question everything. And we definitely have reinvented, the supply chain for tea right here in Canada.
That's amazing. Talk to me a little bit about your organic premium ceremonial matcha. I know when we were talking earlier in prep for this, you were saying that you actually went on a matcha discovery trip. And I know this is one of your best sellers, so I've put it up and available for sale. Tell us about this magical tea.
Yeah, so caveat, not a Canadian product. Okay. In fact, if you find a Canadian matcha, please call me because that shouldn't be happening. Yes, matcha does come from Japan, and it is very much in demand. So my marketing manager and myself went on a marketing or a matcha mission to Japan. We were there a month ago, a couple weeks ago. We were there for a couple weeks, and we were trying to get to the bottom of the matcha crisis, this issue of not having enough. And it is a very real thing. And what's amazing about it is everywhere you look in Japan, you see this familiar shade of green, and you see Kit Kat bars and candy and ice cream and all of these things with matcha. But when you go to buy a tin of it on a shelf, there's nothing to be purchased. They're completely out. So a lot of contributing factors. We have an aging population in Japan, and certainly the farmers are the average age of a farmer in the tea world in Japan is 70.
Whoa.
900 of them retired last year alone in the largest tea growing region. So it's created a huge lack of supply. Happy to report Pluck Tea is in a great position. I do go a couple of times a year. So I have excellent relationships with suppliers there who keep us well stocked. That being said, it's amazing to me how matcha has taken off across Canada. It really blows my mind. I mean, 5 years ago, it was not a seller. It just wasn't really moving. And now it's our number one product.
Wow. I just put up a poll to see if any of the Buy Canadian Super Hour viewers knew there was a matcha crisis, because this is news to me, and it seems like someone's got to take some action.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so far, nobody knew. Like I'm seeing the votes coming in 100% no that doesn't do this. So this is important information to share. We are getting a couple questions from the audience here. I'm going to bring up this question from JC. She's asking, did you notice an uptick in interest after the Buy Canada movement got traction?
100% we did. Absolutely. And we kind of rose to the challenge of that and started messaging around how Canadian we were and are. We saw in forums such as Reddit, actually the Buy Canadian store itself has been mentioned quite a few times. And we're so thankful for Canadians who know that we're really dedicated to, creating products in Canada and sourcing as much Canadian as possible. So yes, absolutely. I'd say that our online sales, the month that those tariffs were announced, were probably up 30%.
That's incredible. And thank you for this shout out. And maybe that's a good excuse for me to do a little plug that the buycanadiangroup.ca or buycanadiangroup.ca is the all Canadian online department store. You can discover and buy all Canadian products, check out in a single cart from multiple brands. And we're just getting started. So we invite everyone to join the community. But you don't have to go there now. You can actually purchase products right here on the show. And there's a great selection of tea products from Jennifer and Pluck here as well. I'm also seeing a question here from, let's see here. There's a couple of questions coming in. Here's one from Schumacher. It might be more of a comment, but she's saying that, or he, I don't know, Schumacher is saying, actually it must be, or likely he, because it says my wife orders tea in restaurants, and they noticed how unknowledgeable the serving staff are regarding the tea they have. Is that a thing? And do you have to work to educate as much as to sell the products?
Yes, absolutely. Tea seems to be that three-letter word in the bottom right-hand corner of the menu that kind of gets ignored and not so much focused on. But here's the thing. When you order tea, it's often when you are about to decide on your tip, about to decide whether you're going to come back, and maybe you might order dessert. So it's actually a profit center for restaurants who are doing it right. And yes, I spent a lot of time training in the beginning of my career as a tea sommelier. Almost 100% of my business was restaurants. And at that time, I would go in and train 10, 20, 30 people at a time. And there was a huge kind of a premiumization of beverage that was happening at that time. Remember, before Fever Tree, there was, Schweppes and Canada Dry. So there
Right.
was a premiumization trend that was starting to happen. Specifically in Toronto, there's still a lot more work to do. And one of the best tools they can have actually is a printed tea menu, so that the customer has all the information, because there's so many different ingredients in teas these days.
Right.
And to expect a server to memorize them all and rattle them all off with these blends is kind of it's a big thing. So I always encourage restaurants to offer a printed tea menu, and it just kind of simplifies life. But yes, servers definitely could be doing, generally speaking, a better job, but they are trying their hardest, and it is getting better.
And do you find, is there ever a thing where it's a tea tasting where people will come together and taste multiple teas, kind of like you would with whiskey? Or like I even noticed, because I was recently at a high tea, which I'd never done before. And there you didn't get to taste a bunch of teas. You picked a tea and then they just kept filling up the water or what have you. Tell me about tea tastings, if that's even a thing.
Tea tastings are a lot of fun. So you can do it at home easily. Actually, our kits make it easy to try a few different things at once in small quantities and a low risk,
Right.
in case you don't love it. But hopefully you do. It's definitely actually something we've seen more on the pairing side of things, Dave. So as the non-alcoholic movement has gained momentum, we're seeing a lot of restaurants offering iced teas or tea-based infusions, or tea sparkling sodas and things like that are designed to go with specific dishes. Actually, I worked with a phenomenal chef out of Hamilton recently to do a 10-course tasting and pairing menu with tea accompaniments for those people that decided not to drink for whatever reason. So that was a really fun experiment and adventure. And we incorporated so many different teas, from smoked teas to white teas to like really esoteric fun stuff, which isn't the day to day, but it was a wonderful technical challenge. Actually, when I'm in Japan, I do a lot of tea tasting. So when I'm tasting teas there as a buyer, I might be tasting 30 or 40 or 50 different first flush teas from different cultivars, different altitudes, and different regions at one time. So it can be a little overwhelming.
We're getting a question from Andrew, who's based in Hamilton, and I think he got intrigued by the restaurant you're referring to. So if you're able to call it out, he's
You know what? Well, here's the sad part of the story. Unfortunately, it closed, but it's called the Heather. So if you know Hamilton, it was the Heather restaurant, and that chef has now moved on to a new restaurant.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Andrew is disappointed that the Heather's gone.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
No, there's only good news here on the Buy Canadian Super
That's
Hour.
true.
We're all about Canadian brands, and we're so happy to have Jennifer with us today. Jennifer, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to take a taste of this tea, and I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing hints and notes of, and you can tell me how my tea palate is. Does that seem like
sounds
a thing
great? I love this.
Okay, because I want an excuse to be able to drink some of this tea while we're talking. So
Go for it.
A few sips here. Okay, so it's like there's maybe a hint of soft vanilla. Definitely
Nice.
The lavender is very forward. And then Earl Grey, I assume, is like a classic tea flavor. So let me see here. I need another try. And it almost does have a creamy flavor, but there's clearly no dairy in it. How does that happen?
Yeah, so it is a certified vegan product, to be clear, but we do add a little hint of vanilla. So you nailed it, Dave.
All right.
Yeah, and that bergamot is what gives the Earl Grey flavor. So it's oil of bergamot, and that is the classic Earl Grey flavor that you will find across the traditional Earl Grey teas. But we just decided to remix it a little with some vanilla and some local lavender. It's great on ice too, by the way.
Thanks, JC. Yeah, I'm getting good at this. So bergamot, I know, is something that grows here in Canada. Like I know I have some even in my garden. Is that something that is a native to Canada or brought in or?
Sadly, no. It is a citrus fruit that is grown in around the equator and primarily in India. Actually, is a huge supplier of bergamot. So what they do is extract the essential oil from the rind or the peel, and that's what we use to flavor the tea.
Oh, okay. So I must be thinking of something else. Like what I picture is the bees balm. That's a different thing, I guess.
That's a different thing. Are you thinking lemon balm?
I'm trying to remember what the bees balm. Let's see. We may as well.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah, I can look up on the internet here because we're on the computer.
Yeah, we are.
What's another name for bees balm? Wild bergamot is a classic garden perennial. So I guess that's what I was thinking about. Was the wild bergamot.
I'm not sure they're related, Dave. I got to tell you. I mean, the
citrus.
It looks like so bergamot that we used for the tea looks like a wrinkly lime. Like it's kind of a.
That makes more sense. Makes more sense.
Yeah, but there may be a bergamot character to the wild bergamot. Now I got to try it out. Maybe we can grow some in Canada and put it in some tea.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful flower that it, and apparently you can actually brew it into a tea. Well, so we could take a look at that. Maybe we've discovered something here. I'm going to play the sound.
Awesome. Announcement coming soon. Wild bergamot tea.
So I'm going to open it up now to the audience. If anyone else has any other questions for Jennifer about tea, about starting a startup in Canada. And while we're waiting for the questions to come in, I wanted to focus a little bit more on that. Like, creating a company that's lasted for 10 years in Canada and really taking a dominant position in your market. That's something to really be proud of, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm, creating the all Canadian online department store. So I really respect what you've accomplished. So tell me a little bit about what that journey is like and what it requires to kind of make it through those first 10 years.
Well, I would say to anyone starting a company in Canada right now, go for it. There's never been a better time. There's never been a warmer reception for Canadian brands. So I applaud anyone who takes that leap. So, huge hats off to all the other entrepreneurs out there and people who are starting up new things. It has not been a smooth path, I will say. There's been all kinds of things that have pummeled us over the years, most notably, I think, COVID. That was, no one wants to talk about that, but, it's the thing we don't talk about. We just call it.
It's real, though. I do remember it.
Yeah, it was very, very real. That was a tough one. I mean, going back, though, I don't know if the audience knows this, probably not, but you and I were neighbors. We were in the same building when I started up. Yeah, and you had the best smelling office in Canada, probably.
We definitely did. So for those of you who aren't aware, I'm also the founder of Stage 10, which is the live shopping technology we're using here. And we had an office over on Carroll Street. And Jennifer, in the very early days of Pluck Tea, this would have been almost 10 years ago, or about 10 years ago now, was there right next door to us. And I remember some of the technical team used to go over and help mixing teas sometimes. And
that was great.
It was really fun, and so glad that we get to do things together still so many years later.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, remember the day that we got our pieces of paper slipped under the doors because they were going to, totally renovate the building, and we had 30 days to move and find a new factory. That was a good time.
No doubt.
Running a business in Canada.
They were turning our offices into a co-working space. So it was, no more long-term leases, but I think it sounds like you've found a new home up on Laird, and that's where your factory is now, and you've been there since, I guess, right?
Absolutely, and it was the right thing, and it happened at the right time. It just was a little bit unexpected to only have 30 days notice.
Yes. There is a question coming here from Andrew, and I think it's an interesting one. He's asking, why does tea taste so different when it gets cold? Is there a science behind that?
Yes, I love this question. So, absolutely, it tastes very different when it gets cold, and people often find it tastes weaker when it gets cold. And the way I think the best comparison, if you're a wine drinker or even honestly an apple juice drinker, try it at room temperature and then try it chilled, and you'll notice that the flavor is completely different. A lot of it is how our taste buds are responding to temperature. So our mouth acts differently depending on whether things are hot or cold. And while the actual tea itself hasn't changed, the act of chilling it, if you've ever had a warm champagne, don't recommend, versus a cold one, same with beer, temperature plays a huge role. And I don't know, not a scientist, but a tea sommelier. You are absolutely spot on. It is absolutely true. I don't know the exact mechanics behind it. Perhaps a scientist can weigh in for me.
Yeah, if there are any scientists in the Buy Canadian audience today, feel free to throw us the answer in the chat, because we're here. We're also here about learning. We're about supporting Canadian products, Canadian brands, helping Canadians discover ways to move their spending into Canada so that the dollar stay here, improve our economy, and we're trying to do it in a fun and community way, which is one of the reasons we do these cool shows. We're getting a new viewer here saying hello to you. This is from Colin.
Hi, Colin.
And Doug is joking that there's a software developer tea packer role that we could open up at our combo company, some future hybrid of tea and live stream software.
Absolutely. I totally see the fit. Makes abundant sense.
Cool. Well, I wanted to thank you for doing this. I hope you'll come back again. We're going to leave the tea selections available throughout the rest of the Super Hour so that anyone who wants to pick up some tea can do that. I will play the sound. I will shout you out. And Jennifer, thank you again. This has just been wonderful. I hope you'll come back, because we're going to be doing these all the time. We're also going to be doing some big shop-a-thons coming up in support of the buying Canadian. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you'll join us again.
Absolutely. I'll always have tea with you, Dave. No problem.
Thank you. I'll cheers to that, and thank you so much for coming, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and thanks so much for the questions too.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Jennifer.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, that was wonderful. I love talking to Jennifer. I love learning about tea, and I love buying Canadian. So before we get too much further, let's take a look at the result of our poll here. So we were asking everybody if they knew there was a matcha crisis. So we have final results that nope, people didn't know that. So luckily, we've got great Canadians like Jennifer going out and sourcing matcha so that we can enjoy that beautiful tea here in Canada, have it packaged here in Canada, and have it sold by a Canadian-owned brand like Pluck Tea. Okay, well, thank you. And I think it's time for us to play the Canadian or Not game. I know we've been playing that each week, and we got some fun new ones for you this week. So I'm going to leave the Georgian Bay Berry up featured on the screen for a while, because it sounds so appealing. I love Georgian Bay. I love berries. I love tea. Everything comes together in that one package. So feel free to purchase right here, right on screen. There is a way to shop any of the products we're featuring here within the chat room. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on one of the social networks, come to buycanadian.tv so you can be involved in the conversation and join with us in this fun show. Okay, so let's play the Canadian or Not game. So for those of you who don't know, the Canadian or Not game is a challenge where I bring up a person, place, thing, invention, and you guys get to vote on whether it is Canadian or not, and then we see how well we do. So without further ado, let's bring up our first thing today, and it is a thing. It is instant coffee. So what we're wondering is instant coffee Canadian or not? I know compared to all this beautiful tea, instant coffee sounds heinous. But we want to know whether it was invented here in Canada. And so far, the results are coming in pretty close. We're seeing a few votes for not Canadian and a fewer votes for Canadian. So feel free to vote as many times as you want. You can button mash, you can go nuts if you're really sure about what it is. And just so you know, if you hit that Georgian Bayberry, you're going to be buying tea, not instant coffee. We're not selling any instant coffee today, but we are asking you if instant coffee is Canadian or not. Right now, the votes are 13 Canadian, 5 not Canadian. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds and then we'll stop the voting and check the answer. So here we go. Last chance for votes. Okay, I'm stopping. We're at 13 votes Canadian, 9 votes non-Canadian. And the answer is yes. Instant coffee is Canadian. It was invented by the Canadian David Strang in 1890 and was actually patented in New Zealand. I wonder why that was. Strange place to patent a Canadian invention, but instant coffee is a Canadian invention, and you guys got it right. So we're off to a good start here. I'm going to reset the votes and prepare to bring on the next thing. So we are now, I'm going to take this one out and here we go. Okay. The next one is pablum. Pablum. Is pablum a Canadian invention? For those of you who don't know, I believe pablum is a baby food. So we're wondering if pablum is a Canadian invention or whether it was invented elsewhere. Well, so far we are seeing an overwhelming response. We're up to 69 votes, 75 votes Canadian, 4 votes not Canadian. So I guess everybody is feeling the pride on pablum being a Canadian thing. I will answer this. Yes, I am Canadian. Thank you for asking. Okay, so we'll give it a couple more seconds. Right now, it's overwhelmingly people think pablum is Canadian. I'm going to stop the voting in 2 seconds, and we have an answer. Yes, pablum is a Canadian invention. 77 votes Canadian, 4 votes not Canadian. So that was an overwhelming response. Pablum is a pre-cooked baby cereal that was developed by Canadian pediatricians in 1930. I'd be curious to know if pablum still exists. I think so. It certainly existed when I was a kid. I think they gave me pablum. I wonder what's in there. What are they putting in there? Okay, let's get ready and do the next one. I'm going to reset the votes here. And our next segment in the Canadian or not game is the popsicle. Was the popsicle or is the popsicle a Canadian invention? Let's start the voting now. Popsicles are delicious and frozen treat that, people think Canada's cold all year round. We know better than that. Canada gets real hot in the summer. We have the beautiful 4 seasons. And so far the votes are coming in that the popsicle is not Canadian, 6-3, but it's pretty close. People don't seem as sure as they were with pablum. Clearly, pablum is a feather in the Canadian cap. So we'll just give it a few more seconds here before we reveal the answer. And the votes are coming in, and I'm going to stop the voting. So we are seeing the answer not Canadian, 7-3, and that is correct. Popsicles are not Canadian, or at least weren't invented in Canada. Apparently, popsicles were accidentally invented by an 11-year-old named Frank Epperson in California in 1905. So I wonder how Frank, as an entrepreneurial 11-year-old, was able to get the credit for such a tremendous invention. But it makes sense that it was invented in a warm climate, and makes sense that it was invented by a child, I guess. And I wonder how accidentally it was invented in 1905. Did they have freezers in 1905, or was it just an exceptionally cold day? Or maybe it was at the top of a California mountain. I'm not sure. But you guys swept that round of the Canadian or not game. Great job. 3 for 3. Let's bring up some new products to sell, and before we play any more, because I think it is time for us to look at some new stuff here. I'm going to bring up a product from Lex's Pantry. So it's a good opportunity for me as well to let you know that next week our guest is going to be Lex from Lex's Pantry. It's a Canadian spice brand, and some really amazing selections of spice. I think if you remember on a previous episode, we did an unboxing with the shawarma spice, and I liked it so much that I actually bought it again. I won't unbox it again. We know it's in there. We know it tastes fantastic. But we got a couple of Canadian themed spices available here. We got the Halifax Donair spice blend. So this is a pretty unique and Canadian flavor. So that is available here. And then probably one of the most classic Canadian flavors, which is the Montreal steak spice, is also available from Lex's Pantry. You can purchase that right here on screen or at any time on buycanadiangroup.ca. Just to let you know, if you are watching on the social networks, come on down to buycanadian.tv, where you can participate, purchase right on screen, and be part of our fun. Okay, I think it's time we play another round of Canadian or Not, because that's always a lot of fun. And we have some fun ones to do. So I'm going to bring back the graphic here. And are you guys ready to do a little more voting as we wrap up the super hour for today? I'm certainly ready to find out if we can keep our perfect record alive. And the next one in the Buy Canadian or Not game is the music synthesizer. The music synthesizer. Is that a Canadian invention? Let me just make sure I've reset the votes here so we get a clean slate. And I started the voting. So we're asking if the music synthesizer is a Canadian invention. While you're thinking about that, you can be purchasing some steak spice right here. I mean, you could have a beautiful steak and a wonderful synthesizer experience. So we're seeing votes leaning not Canadian so far. Interesting. The music synthesizer, is it a Canadian invention? We'll give it a couple more seconds and stopping the voting now. So the vote is that the music synthesizer is not a Canadian invention. That's wrong, which is kind of exciting because music synthesizer is pretty cool that is a Canadian invention. And it was the Canadian Hugh LeCain who built one of the earliest voltage-controlled synthesizers. Now, granted, I'm not sure if the picture below is that or if that's Hugh, but I just wanted to find a picture of an old synthesizer. But that's pretty cool that the music synthesizer is Canadian. So right now we are 3 where we've collectively voted correctly and 1 where we haven't. But we're going to get another chance right now with the next choice, which is the very popular footwear. Oh, we don't need both. The very popular footwear, Crocs. Are Crocs a Canadian invention? Look at that beautiful plastic shoe. The votes are coming in overwhelmingly for not Canadian so far. It's a shutout. We've already, we don't have a single vote for Canadian, and we've got almost 10 votes for not Canadian. So we're asking if Crocs are a Canadian invention. I'll give it a couple more seconds and reveal the answer. And here we go. Correct. Crocs are not a Canadian invention. They were actually first introduced at a boat show in Florida in 2002. So interesting that it would be at a boat show. I could see that being important with those drainage holes and the comfort, and Florida probably needs a good strong shoe to prevent from alligator bites and stuff. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This one is interesting. We want to know if let's remove the Crocs, and we want to know if thermal underwear is a Canadian invention. I'm starting the voting now. Thermal underwear. Those are your long johns, as they call them. Are long johns or thermal underwear a Canadian invention? The voting is open now. Wow, we are getting overwhelming support for thermal underwear being a Canadian invention, which I guess makes sense because It's cold here most of the time, or at least 1/4 of the time. So let's give it a couple more seconds. We've got 12 votes Canadian, 4 votes non-Canadian. I'm going to stop the voting now. And correct, thermal underwear is a Canadian invention. The early versions of thermal underwear were developed for Canadian miners and trappers, which is interesting. I guess back in the day of the original Canadian department store, the Hudson's Bay Company, they were out there trapping beaver pelts and using long underwear. Okay, good job. We've got so far 4 correct and 1 wrong. Sorry, 5 correct and 1 wrong. So that's pretty good. Okay. Before we go too much further with any more Canadian or not, before we go too much further with anything else, I want to remind you that Buy Canadian Group is all about promoting the discovery of Canadian brands, making it super easy for any Canadian or friends of Canada, because there's what we found is there are tons of folks in Europe, in the States, who want to support Canada right now, who kind of see Canada as kind of on the front lines of making sure that our economies can't be affected by changing political tides in the USA. So Canadians, friends of Canadians all around, you can come here to buycanadiangroup.ca and do your Canadian shopping from many brands in a single cart. You're also invited every Wednesday at noon. We go live with the Buy Canadian Super Hour on buycanadian.tv. And also, after every show, so if you missed this show or you like this show and you want to see what we did in previous weeks, and this is the 5th show, so we've got quite a bit of content now, you can go to buycanadian.tv and click on the shoppable replays on demand, and that'll allow you to actually purchase items, see what was going on in the chat room, and have some fun with the Canadian or not game. Okay, let's do one more round of that, then we'll call it a show. Before we do, I'm going to bring up some more tea that you can purchase during the Canadian or not game. I think we want to maybe one we haven't shown yet here. Classic tea, the organic Pico tea, is now available here on screen for you to buy during the Super Hour. And when you buy during the Super Hour, we play this sound. Oh yeah, that's the sound of sweet Canadian goods going to sweet Canadian homes, supporting sweet Canadian brands. All right, let's do the final round of Canadian or not, and then we'll come back and do more of this fun stuff next week. And we'll be hosting Lex from Lex's Pantry as well, which I'm super excited about. Okay, final round of Canadian or not for today. We want to know if the electric wheelchair is a Canadian invention. So let me reset the votes and get that started for you here. Okay, so is the electric wheelchair invented in Canada? We're wanting to hear what you think of that. So far, no one's quite sure, but we are seeing a vote for not Canadian. We are going to find out very shortly. We'll give it a couple seconds. Anybody else? Oh, we got a tie. I'll give it 2 more seconds to break the tie. Is the electric wheelchair a Canadian invention? All right, we're stopping. We're going to get. We have a tie here. I'm going to play the sweet sound because it's nicer than the buzzer. And so I'll give it to you. And the answer is yes. The electric wheelchair is a Canadian invention. It was actually developed for veterans at Toronto's Sunnybrook Hospital in the period right after World War II. So that's a pretty cool thing that Canadians invented. So let's reset the votes and do a couple more of these, and then we'll call it a show. The next up is on a similar vibe to when we discovered that the music synthesizer is Canadian. Now we want to know if the electric organ is Canadian. The electric organ, is that a Canadian invention? You're looking at a picture of a Hammond right there, which is an electric organ. I would like to know whether you think the electric organ is a Canadian invention or not. So far, Not Canadian has jumped out to the lead. We'll give it a couple more seconds. Anybody have any thoughts about it? So far, it's a shutout. People don't think there's any way a Canadian invented the electric organ. I mean, if it turns out that Canadians invented the music synthesizer, isn't it possible we also invented the electric organ? You don't think so. We're seeing a shutout. Everyone's voting Not Canadian. I'm going to stop the votes and let you know that you are absolutely correct. The electric organ was not invented in Canada. It was actually patented in the USA in the 1930s. And it was the leader in that space was the Hammond Organ Company. And that's the organ we're looking at here. Okay, one more. This one is for all the marbles, as we could say. And that's actually something that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, a great Canadian MVP in basketball, said, speaking of Hamilton, just this week. Before we do the last one, I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to, go back, while we're looking at organic pico here. I'm just going to we have one more to do. I'm just going to save it because we have a couple of interesting videos that Jennifer provided us. I feel like this is a good time to show them. So let's take a look at a couple of videos from Pluck Tea, just to kind of remind you of that magical interview we did and why it's such a great thing to buy Canadian tea from our friends at Pluck.
Hi Canada, I'm Jennifer, founder and tea sommelier at Pluck Tea. Our tea company is located right here in Canada, and we're one of the very few Canadian tea companies that hand blend and pack our products in our own facility. Our tea bags are made from plant-based, compostable material. We also source several Canadian-grown ingredients in our blends, which you can find in our new Canadian tea sampler set. Thank you for showing up for Canadian small business. It truly means the world. Elbows up and pinkies up.
I love that. Elbows up and pinkies up. I don't have a classic teacup here, but I'm putting my pinky up in honor of Jennifer. Having a big swig of that delicious tea. Okay, let's do the last Canadian or Not now. Okay, so this one, as I said, this one's for all the marbles. We have got, what have we got here? All right, we're going to bring up the Canadian or Not graphic. Bear with me here. I was so excited by that sip of tea that fell behind. Okay, here comes the Canadian or Not graphic. And the final entry of today's Canadian or Not game is the paint roller. We want to know if the paint roller is a Canadian invention or not. So we're starting the voting now. The paint roller. I think we've all experienced rolling paint onto a wall at one point or another in our lives. Is that a Canadian thing or not? Right now, we are seeing the votes coming in Canadian. So we're seeing 3-1 Canadian for the paint roller. I think it's amazing. And yes, Alvin, it is awesome to show those videos. I have one more Pluck Tea video, so maybe I'll play that after this. So we'll give this a couple seconds. We are seeing 6 votes Canadian, 2 votes non-Canadian. 2 more seconds here, and we will stop the voting now. And you are correct. The paint roller is Canadian. It was actually invented by the Canadian Norman Breakey in the 1940s. I would love to hear the story of how he came up with that, because it is a kind of cool thing, and it does save a lot of time when you're painting. We did really well today on the Canadian or Not game. We know Canada. We are Canadian. And over here, we are the Buy Canadian group, and we're all about helping you to discover and buy all Canadian brands. When you come to the Buy Canadian group, you can sort by products. Every product there is owned by, every brand there is owned by Canadians, employs Canadians. And then we also let you sort if the product is fully made in Canada or product of Canada. So you can kind of go with, how Canadian a product is, and we kind of do that work for you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so as we wrap up here, I'm going to play, because apparently it was a hit when I played the video, so I'm going to play one more from our friends at Pluck Tea, and then we'll say goodbye. So here comes another message from Jennifer and Pluck Tea. All right. That is deliciously Canadian. I've been, every time I put on a video, I get a chance to have more. I want to thank you all for joining us on the Buy Canadian Super Hour. We'll be back next Wednesday at noon Eastern Time at buycanadian.tv with our special guest, Lex from Lex's Pantry. Thank you, as always, for joining us. It's so much fun doing these, and it's because you guys come and participate in the community. Tell your friends. We're just here to have a bit of fun, move a little Canadian product, support Canadian brands, support the Canadian economy. Thank you. We'll see you next week.